sometime later. So if you have any questions, guys, please feel free to ask now.
Yeah.
Question.
Hi. Yeah. When you talk about the prioritization frameworks,
Hmm.
so I wanted to know who are the stakeholders which a PM involves, and I mean, what is the basic design for this stakeholder management?
Okay. So again, stakeholders would depend from company to company basis. But generally, when you are prioritizing your product, a lot of this comes from, who you are reporting to and who is taking the decisions of the next business goals, right? So let's say, just to give you an example, if you are a junior product manager at a company, then the stakeholders might be your product leads, who will have a clear idea of the direction the product needs to go. So in that case, you are going to involve the product lead into your prioritization. Like after you prioritize, you might want to take their approval on, I'm going to prioritize these 4 things first, because that is going to give me these 5 product goals, or and I'm going to track my success based on these 10 metrics, and we are going to achieve this business goal using this. So that is what you might have to convince your product lead for. But if you are a senior, you're already a product lead, and you have to formulate a product plan, or a strategy of what should be the next set of prioritization going forward. You might have to speak to the C level executives, like your business stakeholders, from where the business decisions are coming. Let's say you have the business stakeholders and the goal is to grow from 100k users to 1 million users, so the entire product roadmap should be prioritized for that particular thing, growing your user base, right? But you might also,
So for
yeah.
sorry, so for prioritizing user stories, developers and designers shouldn't be involved. Like the other day, you were talking about uh, some companies with startup culture where developers and designers are also involved in such meetings.
So you have to see at a high level, when you are prioritizing, it should be driven by business level goals. But when you know that the goal is to prioritize engagement, and you've come down at a feature level, you have 20 stories which is going to achieve that goal in itself, right? In that case, how do you prioritize those 20 features? You have to talk to your design and development teams to get an idea of how much time does it take to implement those features, right? You might be thinking that a specific feature only should take 2 days to get built, but your technical manager or your engineering team might come up and say it will take 2 weeks to develop that, because of some technical debt, or the way the current technical architecture is implemented. So in that case, because you have to also take into consideration the value and the impact that, the complexity and the time complexity and effort of complexity that goes into building it. So you have to talk to your development team to understand the time and the cost considerations. Similarly, to the design team, you will have to take them into consideration, because they are going to tell you the UX flows, right? How is the UX going to evolve? So that is also something you will have to take into consideration from that standpoint. But from the point of view of setting goals and achieving, achieving towards success metrics, it will be your product team that should take a stand on. Like if you think that a feature is very important for user engagement, and even if it takes 2 weeks to build and it's very high value feature, you might want to prioritize it. The whole idea of involving design and the tech teams is to know the considerations of executions.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, so I had this question which is regarding this techniques which you have told us. So does it depend from product to product as well? So like right now we just spoke about like apps were the examples. So if we are taking products like, let's say, semiconductor products or controllers, then is there a criteria of choosing which product framework to go for?
Okay, there is no like these frameworks are not specifically for digital products. Like I have taken the examples of apps because that is what is most common. But in all these frameworks, if you look at the underlying structure of how these frameworks are implemented, we have always spoken about user goals, what your user is trying to achieve, your business goals, what you as a company are trying to achieve, and the complexity and the time effort that goes into building those particular features. So all of these does not depend on a digital product or a physical product. So you can use these frameworks anywhere. You only have to take into consideration your end goals and your user goals and your cost structure.
Okay, thank you.
After, can you hear me?
Yes.
So, I was saying that after every session, can you give us a product case which we can solve until the next session takes place? As in, so we can discuss the case for 5 minutes, let's say, in the next session. So it would be better for all of us also because we'll get a hands-on practice in
Got.
our preparation for product management interviews as well.
Yes, yes. So that is what I plan to do. Every session, what I'll try to do is give you a assignment. I'm not sure how do we go about assessing that, because I won't have the bandwidth to go through each and every responses. But at like we can have a what I'm thinking is to have specific sessions for discussions on those assignments, which would not be part of this series. Only people who are interested in submitting the assignments and then coming over and discussing it, we will just invite them to those sessions, because I don't want those sessions to be about me talking. Those sessions should be about you doing the assignment and having the confidence to discuss it amongst your peers. And then based on your peer learning, you can better formulate your ideas, and I'll always be there to mentor and listen to the ideas and give my inputs at the end of it. But I think going through the assignments and giving you feedback on a one-on-one basis is going to be very time consuming. So we can have specific sessions dedicated for assignment discussions. So I'll start a series for that. Like we can do that twice a week.
Yes,
Like,
ma'am, that should be the way to go about it. And the personal assessment, like person to person assessment, is not really possible for you as well. So
right.
it should be more about self evaluation. So once you can discuss the solution with us, then we can evaluate our solutions ourselves and
Mm.
look out for the mistakes we did.
Right, right. But instead of me just telling you the solution, see, product management is not about the right answer. Product management is about the right thought process. So it does not matter if your answer is right or wrong. What matters is how you've gone about thinking about it, right? So
Yes, ma'am.
that is what I and see. If I just tell you this is the solution, that is just one solution. Maybe you guys come up with better solutions or different viewpoints. So I would like to have a discussion forum on that rather than me giving you the one aspect of the answer, because that's not the that might not be the only answer to that question, right? Like different
All
product managers have come up with innovative products just based on how they've thought about it.
yes, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, while discussing about the product market fit, you spoke about MVP. So, are you going to elaborate this in the upcoming sessions? If not, then I have a question on it.
uh, uh, what exactly like I'm going to elaborate certain frameworks from the standpoint of how companies have followed these frameworks in practice. So I'm not sure which specific frameworks I would be covering, but if you have any specific question in mind regarding the product market framework, I can just take that now itself.
It's about MVP that you spoke about, the minimal viable product.
Yeah, so what
So
is the
I just wanted, yeah. So I like you said the told about the prioritization frameworks. So
Mhm.
how during an MVP, how do we decide on what features should be included in the MVP?
Right. So again, nobody knows when you have achieved, like you cannot say that you have launched a product and your product has achieved product market fit, right? The whole you might have an understanding of user based on which you have developed your MVP. So what you have to do when you are trying to achieve a product market fit is give your minimal MVP to your users and just observe how they are using the product. Based on that interaction, you are going to discover gaps. You are going to discover the expectation gap between what the consumer had in mind and what you had in mind while you were designing the product. That is going to give you ideas about, okay, so there's a market gap, I've still not covered that. Or you might discover that, okay, I've built this feature, but actually the main pain point of my user is not this, actually the main pain point is something else. So you might want to start solving for that, but again, you have to iterate very fast and give the other pain point solution product to your user to just validate if that is the right pain point that that user has. So you have to, in the product market fit stage, you have to continuously keep looking out and working closely with your user base to see how they are using the product and if you have covered the right market gap. How will you know that you have achieved product market fit is you will automatically start getting a lot of user adoption. Okay, that's how most companies find out that they have achieved product market fit. Users start adopting the product by itself, and there's a certain pain point that the product is solving, because of which the adoption has happened. So your goal as a PM is to discover that product market fit. If possible, I'll try to do a case study on product market fit because you have asked. uh,
Yeah,
I,
sure.
I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so we have just a minute left, so if there's any last question, I'll just take that.
Hello.
Yeah.
Ma'am, is there any particularly framework like for the Indian market, like a hybrid kind of framework that you can
I don't think
particularly any?
I mean, it's all about the users, right? So it doesn't matter if it is catered, like why, like there's no specific these frameworks are not specific for a market, right? You have to figure out your market, and you have to see which framework best suits